Hey everybody, back in the garage today. It's a nice Saturday, sunny and warm outside. Man, I'm tired of winter. And just to have some good sunny weather is awesome. You can see I've changed a little bit. Beard growing, that's my, what do you call it, isolation virus beard. And shaved my head. Oh, I can run faster. Well, I want to show you just something I made today. I made a new rack for the back of my bike, which incorporates for some kind of racks for saddlebags as well. My last rack, I was out this week riding, did an overnighter up in one of our national parks here in the Republic of Georgia. Great peaceful night, just me, the stars. Yeah, it was a good time away on the lawn. But on the way back, boy, we have some brutal roads here. And my rack that I made another video about made of titanium pipe snapped off. That's the mount, and you can see if you look there. Snapped off on both sides. I was going along, hit a big bump, and with the weight of the gas tank, the spare gas tank on there, and my overnight bag on top of it, man, just hard enough to just snap that baby off. So I just basically had to take it apart on the side of the road, reload, and toss out what was left of the rack. This was the pieces, a couple of these that were left on the bike. So got back in the garage this week and started messing around and made a new rack. So I wanted to show you that and tell you how I made it. Here's the bike, the 2016 Ducati Scrambler Icon. Well, if you look at the back here, we're talking about where you can mount stuff. Right underneath here, there's two mounting holes for racks or pannier holders and things like that. This is fairly thick steel up through here and reinforced, so it's pretty strong back there. And it's got basically some tubing coming up on the frame to there, so it supports that whole corner. So that's where you're going to do your mounting. You can see I've got a Rizoma back fender on here, and you can see that kind of bounced around. That got taken out a little bit with the rack coming off. So here's the rack over here that I just finished. Still got my junk laying everywhere here. Trying to make that, put that where you can see it. Okay, let's maybe take it over here to the welding bench. So what I did this time is I incorporated, instead of making, I had these, the pannier holders, the soft pannier holders were a separate piece. So I went ahead and cut off the old ones and incorporated them into this new rack. You can see how I made it here. Basically I just went to bend it, I got a little bit of a fold there, but on my small pipe bender. And I smashed down the end of the pipe here and then drilled it to do those two forward mounts, and then bolted that in and stuck and mounted these little tabs in and got it lined up just right, and then welded it in place on the bike. Whenever you do something like that, weld on your bike, always remember to disconnect it. That's why the seat's off here, to disconnect the battery. So I've got the battery disconnected, and I've also got my main brain, circuit here disconnected. It's just sitting in there now. Because man, I've just seen so often people welding on a bike, and it either messes up the ABS or it messes up their electronics. So you want to disconnect that before you do any welding on the bike. But that's about the best place to do it, to get it lined up just right. If you can make it on the bench and do all the measurements, you still might be off a little bit. But you put it on the bike, and once it's bent, and then adjust it, get those two back in, then you can put those tabs on. And then I put a couple cross pieces in here. This is 21 millimeter, or 2 centimeters, 1 millimeter pipe. And you can see it laying across my floor. It only came in 6 meter length, so it's what, about 21 feet? But here in Georgia, that was about 12 lari, which comes out to about $4 at the current exchange. So long piece of pipe for $4, and it's fairly thin walled. You can see here, there's a piece of it, but it's heavy. It's heavy enough. I weighed the rack now, weighs just under 2 kilograms, which is heavier than I'd like it to be. But when it's hooked up to the bike, I can actually lift the bike off the ground just holding onto the back of this, where it would flex the titanium rack I had quite a bit. So basically, you're just starting off with a U piece here. And it doesn't really matter if it's round, or you could actually bring it out and you could weld it square if you wanted to. And then you get that in place. You get these 2 back holes drilled, and you can put them right up in there, mount it up, and adjust it as you go, because this isn't too thick to where you can actually bend it with your hands a bit if you have a good vise, like this vise here in my welder setting. Not a real big vise, not real expensive, but a few basic tools like the grinder and the vise and the little buzz box welder. And then I've got this great, as I've shown before, this great little DeWalt grinder, ready for a new blade there. But yeah, so you get that bend made however you want to make it. I do mine on the little pipe bender there. And, you know, the funny thing is the price of that pipe bender, I could buy that pipe bender and all the parts to make this for less than what it cost to buy me a Ducati Scrambler rear rack on Amazon. So I can get both of those and all this for the price of actually buying one made by a manufacturer. And you know, you get the delight here of creating something yourself. It's not just about what can I buy, what new accessory can I get, but creating something yourself, even if it takes you several tries. Like I said, I've got 6 meters of pipe here, so I was ready for several tries. Pretty much I did a few practice bends. You can see that on the floor there. That's a practice bend, just seeing what I can do. And you can get something made. And, you know, over time, you could be buying all these tools. Little secondhand drill press there. For the price of buying just a few items that you would install on your bike. And you don't have to be an expert at this. It's just all practice and, you know, trial and error, let's say. Okay, there you can see I've mounted it up. Again, you see the 2 mounting points. I've got a screw in there, or a bolt in there, and a bolt under there. You can see it right there. And again, I just adjusted it. I put a little spacer in there just to bring it up a little bit away from the tail light. It looks like it's sticking up a lot, but I've got the wheel off the ground with my paddock stand. Let's see what it looks like with the seat on there. Okay, got the seat on there. You can see it sticks down a little bit lower than the top of the seat. Sometimes people bring racks up so it's level with the seat, which is nice if you're putting one bag on there. But what I'm going to be doing is putting this gas tank on there. So when I mount the gas tank, it's going to come up just a little taller than the seat, and then I can lay my bag. It's one of my bags over here sitting on top of my generator. That's my top bag. That's going to lay right over the top then. So get my gas tank mounted there. It's going to lay over the top of it. And then I've got my, over here hiding on top of my XR400, my saddlebags that I've tried out once. So far I like them, but you have to be careful. They're real easy to wear holes in those things if they're not riding right. So they're going to sit right over the top, and this is going to keep them from bouncing into the tire. And my last ones flexed a bit. I had them on L brackets, and they were setting over the top of the rack, but these ones are welded right into the rack. So you can see me, that's a lot stronger. And I can just about lift my bike up holding that now. It's on the, I don't want to lift it too much, it's on the stand there. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Another thing about this rack is, maybe you don't think about it, but you know, I like to do a lot of off-roading, and there's always that danger of wheeling over. And if you check the angle there, if I wheelie over, it's going to hit that rack before it tears off my back fender. And for me, that's a plus, because I've torn off lots of back fenders in my years of riding. So that's my new rack. Just want to encourage you, get out there, experiment, build something. You know, this is almost the same size as I built the engine guard there. Again, it just came with a little bit of experimenting, but you know, it took me a few hours, but it was fun. Especially in this time when we're kind of in lockdown. If you've got a garage or a place where you can do a little bit of welding and grinding and cutting, why not get out and give it a try? I mean, then you make your bike your own. Then your bike begins to be a reflection of your personality rather than just something that you bought on the internet. All right, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit like. I appreciate it. Subscribe if you're interested. Have a great day. Blessings.